I'm sitting in a park eating cake, thinking about the full moon, which is happening on Saturday on the Eastern Standard Time. I feel like I was just talking about the new moon. And honestly, these cycles happen what feels like so quickly. And a full moon cycle is 4 weeks. Halfway through the cycle is when we have the full moon, the full illumination of the moon. And then there's 2 more weeks to end the cycle. And this intermediary space is a special space because it gives us a chance to pause and reflect on the full picture. Not just the full feelings and the big feelings. A lot of times we have a lot of big full feelings around the full moon. But beyond that, it gives us an opportunity to check in with the universal energy and with ourselves and just say, man, how is that affecting me? And how can I ease into it rather than scream at it? I mean, if you need to scream at it, scream at it. Like, there's no right or wrong way. This full moon being in Pisces gives us an opportunity to approach this season with creativity and also with a mind recognizing that emotion is a positive thing. Now, emotion is also something we can drown in. So we don't want to get stuck in repetitive patterns that don't serve us. We don't want to get stuck in giving our power away emotionally to people, places, or things that are just draining our resources that we need for ourselves. This is a time to really be introspective and look inward. You know, whenever it comes to spiritual teaching and spiritual talking, whether I'm doing tarot or a Dharma chat, or just talking about the new moon or the full moon, I can only speak from my experience and my lens and my understanding. And there are a lot of people out there who have different particulars, and maybe our full picture is similar. And so I want to encourage you as well in your practice. Seek out multiple perspectives. And give yourself time before the full moon happens to recognize the energy is going to be high. Maybe I'll be really sad. Maybe I'll be really elated. I don't know. However, I am aware to look out for certain triggers that might put me over an edge. Because once I go over the edge and I'm outside that space of self-awareness and self-observation, I just become reactive to my environment and my surroundings. And that's like no fun for anybody. Practicing creativity and self-observation. How do we practice self-observation? Well, I love it. When people come to my table, and I had a client on the table this week who expressed to me that they felt for the first time an ability to see outside themselves, but still be present. This wasn't a dreaming state. This was a I am present state, and I recognize that I've come up here, I've shifted up here, and I'm just kind of observing what's happening below. That's a breakthrough. That is a breakthrough when we in our mind can become detached to this physical body that we feel so enmeshed with. That's next level. And we should be practicing that. Even if we achieve it one time, that does not mean that we'll constantly be able to achieve that state. The more that we practice, the more that we will have the ability and the space and the muscle memory to shift back into that during times of stress. It's very, very important during this time to recognize that as sad feelings may come up, people from the past may come up, because we're also dealing with a Mercury retrograde. Situations may arise that are not pleasant, and this is the time to just sit with that unpleasantness and hold space for it. Observe it and take it inward. How can I avoid this situation in the future? How can I support myself in feeling forgiven, blessed, supported, whatever it is that I need to feel? Instead of allowing ourselves to be a victim to people, places, and things, we take our power back by recognizing the energies that I feel on a day-to-day basis are kind of outside of my control, and the stories that I attach to them are everything. They are my reality. So what if I let go of the stories and just existed through the emotion? Can I do that? Is it possible? I'm still learning. So as we're sitting with that sadness and maybe even regrets, there was this time when I liked to say that I lived with no regrets. And that's extremely egotistical of me. Of course I have done things, said things, felt things, behaved certain ways in which today I'm sad that I did that. Would I change it if I went back? Yes, I would. And so it's time to give ourselves grace for those things that we cannot change. It's time to recognize that while we can learn lessons from the past, if we stay attached to who that person is or was, or who we think that we are because we've continually kept that person in damnation in our own heart and in our own mind, we are not moving forward, sis. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay stuck. So we want to recognize that I'm sad about the person that I was in the past. I am sad about the people that I've hurt. I'm sad about the relationships in which I have presented myself one way that was maybe not authentic to who I actually am. And I'm sad about the actions or the words that I have already committed and I cannot take back. But I recognize I'm not that person today, and I don't have to be that person tomorrow. So what am I going to set up for myself over the weekend to ensure that I am releasing whatever no longer serves me, whether that is busyness, overfilling my schedule, taking on too many responsibilities, wanting to be everyone's caretaker, wanting to be the reason why people smile. Like, that's really satisfying and a worthy life goal. But the most important thing is that we are able to keep that smile in our heart. Because if we lose the smile in our heart, we lose space for ourselves. We start shifting into that reactive space where, unfortunately, we may not actually be held accountable for our actions because we have turned to the dark side or the feral side or the side that is maybe not so accepted in society today. Not that it's the wrong side, because it's not. It's still part of who you are, and you still are a good human, regardless of whether or not you just really need to scream at a wall or punch a baby. Like, don't actually punch a baby, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I use that phrase sometimes, like, I really just want to punch a baby. And I don't actually mean that I want to punch a baby. Do I want to harm a baby? Absolutely not. But how satisfying would it be for me as someone who seemingly affects no change in the outside world None. I just want to smash something. I want to control something, right? It's okay for me to have that feeling. It's not okay for me to actually smash a baby's face. But being honest about that feeling helps me recognize, hey, maybe kickboxing would be a good thing for me to do. Right? Because I can get out aggression that way, and I can direct my energy that way, strengthening my mind-body connection, not harming any babies, getting the same effect, and feeling better about my future self. This mindful moment feels a little bit hypocritical saying it, because self-realization is quiet, and that's what I want to encourage you. And that's why I'm not going into a ton of detail about what I'm going through right now, because self-realization is quiet. And previously I have overshared a lot, and I probably will continue to overshare in the future. I don't always understand where the filter is, in all honesty. Like, I'm just being honest. At 33, I still don't understand a lot of social norms, and part of that maybe is because I'm autistic. Part of that is maybe because I was exceedingly sheltered the majority of my formative years. So self-realization is quiet, and the reason why I say that is because I have had times when I have felt the need to be vulnerably honest. And maybe that was not the right place to be so vulnerable and honest. And maybe it harmed me. Maybe it traumatized me a little bit, because I did not receive the salvation I was promised or I expected. A lot of this inner work can be done on your own with journaling. Letting yourself recognize sometimes people hurt me, and I want to react in ways that are not okay. It's okay to let that out. In fact, it's healthy. It's also a really good time to lean into those feelings and recognize, who am I continually allowing to take advantage of me, or who am I continually taking advantage of? Because it does go both ways. It does go both ways. And there are times when we might find that we have been leaning very heavily on one person, and that's not sustainable. In my experience, it takes a village for a reason. There's a reason why the sexes were separated, so that they could procreate. Community is lovely, and we're better in community. So are we focusing too much on one aspect, and is it drowning out other aspects of things that bring us joy? It's okay to let go of who you thought you needed to be yesterday. It's okay to let go of the image of maybe what a family looks like to you or to previous generations in your family. It's okay to let go of this idea that we have to have another person to be whole. It's okay to let go of this idea that money is gonna satisfy our responsibility. And so when we can understand that money is energy just like anything else, and having excess energy in one space might limit the amount of energy we have in another space. So are we overtaxing ourselves for people, for little dollars, where we could be utilizing our gifts, growing our spiritual or just personal blessings, offerings, and spreading that out to the world? And maybe there will be great financial success in that. Maybe there won't. I don't know. I'm not the one to ask. I haven't figured that out yet. I'm still on the path of enlightenment, in fact. However, remember, our worth is not just about money. Our worth is not just about how people label us, our worth really comes from how we feel inside. Our worth comes from a space in the chest that feels peaceful. Because when we feel peaceful, we can walk into any situation confident. And nobody gives a shit as to whether or not we have money, because we already rule the room. We can have our cake and eat it too. And we don't have to have tons of money for this. My lunch today cost me $0. My mom made this cake for me. And you know what? Community brings us closer. And boundaries keep our community healthy. So, under this emotional, intuitive full moon, just invite you to take some time and think, how are you showing up in community? Are you bringing your best self to the communal space? And are you holding your community accountable to the boundaries which you have set so that you can live your blessed life? I love you. See you on the flip side.